The full myth is that Fredericksburg and Llano were always connected by rail. And a sawmill was put in, the logs would come in across the line, and then they back the logs into the sawmill and take the finished lumber away.
Headed for the station with the back of my back. Tied to meditation in the back of the hat. I love to hear the rhythm of the cricket clap. To hear the local with the lead of over the stack. The bathroom now, the Democratic fella's name Max. So take me right back to the track. Yeah. Choo choo, choo choo, choo-boogie, woo woo, woo choo-boogie, choo choo, choo choo, choo-boogie. Take me right back to the track, Jack.
Since Steve Blackson built a garden railroad, the backyard is more than a pleasant spot to hang out with his wife Betty, their grown children, and the grandkids. Now it's where history comes alive with G-gauge models on a trip through the hill country. After years of smaller-scale railroading in the garage, he moved outdoors. For one thing, he wanted less breakable cars for his railroading grandkids. But mainly, Betty wanted her garage back after 35 years.
She said, I don't care what you do, as long as I don't have to see it.
It was just the incentive to build formal raised beds around the pool to deal with an eroding slope.
The goal became to hide everything and to integrate it into the garden, which was, I think, one of my best achievements. That's what I was out to do.
As a member of the Heart of Texas G-gaugers, Steve learned new design techniques.
Everything is different outside compared to in the garage. In the garage, when you build your trains and your layouts, you usually work under the layout.
But garden railroaders must work from the top. Steve covered his wiring with crushed limestone. On any scale, outdoors or in, true railroading is more than setting up a track.
There's a difference between a toy train and a model railroad. And for years, Lionel was considered toy trains. They went around, signal lights flashed, milk cans came out of cars, and there's just action trains. But a model railroad is a model of a given railroad or of an era or of a period where you stay authentic. And it's what we call prototype. The prototype's the real one. We're making a model of the prototype.
Using mathematical compression, its 325 feet of track travels the hill country with main lines and branch lines, dedicated for passenger cars or those hauling freight.
I call mine the Cypress Canyon Railroad. It's mythological, but it's geographically set up exactly the way the hill country is. It goes south to north from Fredericksburg to Llano, east to west through Lukenbach, Stonewall, Johnson City, Marble Falls, on into Spicewood and Balcones.
Along with geography, it's hands-on history.
I do everything the way it originally was. We have to have an economic reason for the train. It was the railroads that built America, and that's our economic reason. Here we're into lumber. We're a turn-of-the-century logging operation. Nothing will be later than 1934. And we're bringing wood into the sawmill, taking the finished lumber over to a barrel factory, taking the barrel factories over to the barrel over to a brewery, filling it with beer by truck to Lukenbach, and ship the rest out by rail as an OEM. There'll be furniture makers, coffin maker, other wood-related jobs, but there'll be other industries too that support. We need gravel. This is Texas. We'll have oil. So there's economic reasons. That's the way we run the railroad. We have work to do. We're not here to play. We're going to have work to do.
I saw miles and miles of Texas, all the stars up in the sky. I saw miles and miles of Texas, gonna live here till I die.
Some of his work means intricate building, like for the trestle he crafted. It's also a study in science and math, from setup to operation.
And my grandkids love it because they grew up with Thomas the Tank Engine. They're used to hauling cars and shunting cars and hauling freight, as they say on Thomas. And when they do get on a train that's just a circle, they go, Grandpa, this is boring.
When the grandkids come over, they take turns at engineer and brakeman, arranging routes and schedules to avoid collisions.
So it's run just like a real railroad would run. Things don't always go perfect. Things get behind schedule quite often. and you have to reroute, hold, and wait, just like you would if you were driving a real train.
But in a garden railroad, real plants also figure into the equation.
In the garage, when you build something, the last thing you do is the scenery. In the garden, the first thing you do is the scenery. In the garage, the scenery never grows, never gets bugs, never has to be trimmed. In the garden, it is constantly changing. Things are blooming, dying, growing, and so you have to cut it away from the track. And I often say, gee, this never happened to me in the garage, never.
Oak leaves and pollen need cleanup for power run through the tracks. Steve has a battery-powered locomotive too, where track debris isn't a concern. Like every gardener, Steve is always experimenting with evergreen structure and seasonal changeouts. But in his case, he's going for a landscape in miniature. Small spruces, a favorite with garden railroaders, are out of their region, but he's up to the challenge.
I just love the way they look. They add to the depth. I got them in different sizes on purpose. I have small ones, middle size, and big ones because nature's going to be all different size. Can't put them all in at the same size. It wouldn't look natural.
Next will come more buildings and landmarks. Although he buys some and modifies them, complete with lighting, he builds many himself.
As I put the buildings in, I'm planning to use dwarf Japanese maples to provide a contrast. They have a beautiful leaf to them, and mixed among the maples, they're going to look among the spruces, they're going to look gorgeous.
And like a regular garden design, Steve is going for a 3D view, where every perspective reveals something new. Recently, Steve's hobby put him on a new career track, designing garden railroads for others.
This is off the deep end, but this represents, like I say, 35 years of modeling and what I actually wanted to do. I consider it my Dennis Hopper retirement plan. You know, I'm not about ready to stop and get in the rocking chair. I'm going out and play with my trains.